With awesome violence and destruction, the weather is one of man's oldest and mightiest adversaries. But in its ever-changing moods, the weather brings us beauty. The weather gives us our daily bread. The weather makes possible all living things. And the weather certainly influences our daily lives. Yes, we have always been at the mercy of weather. When the weather is nice, we are happy. If the weather is hot and muggy, we tend to be frustrated, irritable, and even criminal. But if the fog rolls in, we are apt to be depressed. Thunderstorms cause fear and apprehension. Icy winds and snow seem to slow us down. In trying to predict these capricious changes in weather, we sometimes resort to rather questionable weather forecasting devices, such as an almanac, a crystal ball, a gouty leg, and the law of average.
April showers bring May flowers. When mule ears shake in a certain way, it means that rain will fall that day. If a spider you should slay, rain will fall within a day. It's a sign of rain and snow when the birds and bugs fly low. As the weather is on New Year's Day, for 30 days 'twill stay that way. As the weather is on January 2, for February and September, the same holds true. As the weather is on January 3, so the last 3 months of spring will be. As the weather is on November 21, so the coming winter's winter's one. One is one. Winter's one. So, as the coming winter has a New Year's Day, and if the fine weather holds its sway, the weather's bound to stay that way forever, ever, and a day.
Well, no matter how we try to predict the weather, of this we can be certain. It will always be with us. But when too many droplets crowd a cloud, that crowded cloud, he cries out loud. That's the way we get the rain. Sometimes these droplets blow up high, higher and colder. Why they get so cold, they crystallize, and snowflakes form in those frigid skies. Then they fall into warm air, melt into rain. Well, look who's here. Yup, the little drip again. This time those drops are blasted high, still higher, still colder. Look at them fly. One turns to ice, another stick to it, getting bigger and bigger. Look out! I knew it! It's way too heavy! It's falling! This constantly repeating cycle of weather may seem capricious and without direction, but throughout nature there is order. Weather is a constant blending of the basic elements: air, water, and sun. Our Earth is surrounded by an envelope of air. Radiant energy constantly pouring out from the sun heats the Earth and its atmosphere unevenly from pole to equator, setting in motion broad flowing rivers of air. Wherever opposing currents of air develop, giant eddies and whirlpools are formed. These are traveling areas of low pressure in the atmosphere. The clash of these opposing air streams causes clouds to form and usually brings stormy weather. Between the areas of low pressure, there are eddies rotating in the opposite direction. Here, air pressure is high. This usually brings clear skies and fair weather. By charting their positions each day, weathermen can estimate the course they will take and the weather that will result. Keeping track of the steady parade of storms and fair weather requires the constant preparation of new maps. This is a never-ending task. Weathermen must construct these maps from a continuous flow of data that pours in from weather stations all over the world. In remote, isolated areas, in crowded cities, in high-flying aircraft, and in ships at sea, modern weathermen depend on a variety of specialized instruments to gather information. They measure temperature, moisture, air pressure, and wind speed. Balloons carry instruments aloft, automatically radioing back information. New radar techniques locate and track storms. And modern electronic computers now play an important part in weather forecasting by their ability to store and rapidly process vast amounts of data. But today, we are just beginning to understand something of the forces behind the weather. Scientists realize they must search in many directions and ask countless questions. For instance, can future weather be predicted by looking at the past? Does the slow advance and retreat of glaciers over periods of centuries indicate cycles in the Earth's climate? Past records of bird and animal migration, or the migrations of man, may furnish clues. And even ancient tree rings give an indication of wet and dry periods. The vast unexplored polar regions of the Earth pose another kind of question. What effect do these frigid areas, covering millions of square miles, have on the weather of the entire world? Auroras, the ghostly lights that flicker in polar skies, tell something of what happens when energy from the sun plunges into the sea of air that surrounds the Earth. Adventurous scientists are probing the atmosphere itself, climbing to incredible altitudes in their search for knowledge. New scientific tools are being used, rockets launched from balloons. And rockets launched from the ground carry instruments higher and higher. Today's weather satellites are small and are designed to do a limited job. However, they are the first step forward to larger and more versatile space explorers of tomorrow. These future satellites will be the key to precise forecasting and control of weather. 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 Forecasts for every sector of the globe are made months in advance. In the world of tomorrow, weather control will enrich and safeguard our daily lives. In the foreseeable future, we will conquer more than violent storms. We will turn the destructive elements of today into new sources of power, shaping the land on which we live. All mankind will benefit. Arid wastelands will be made green and fertile, and vast frozen areas will become productive.